Hey guys, tonight we're exploring what medieval people actually did when they had nothing to do, which was surprisingly often considering they didn't have Netflix, video games, or even books for most of the population. From watching paint dry on illuminated manuscripts to competing in contests of who could sit still the longest. This is the story of humanity's most creative approaches to killing time in an era when time moved very, very slowly. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Medieval boredom was a different beast than modern boredom because most people were either working from dawn to dusk or sleeping from exhaustion. But during those rare moments of leisure, especially in winter when farming stopped and daylight lasted about 6 hours, medieval people had to get creative with entertainment that didn't require electricity, mass production, or literacy. Village entertainment centered around storytelling, which was basically medieval television, except the programming was entirely dependent on whoever had the best memory and most dramatic delivery. Professional storytellers traveled between villages, carrying epic tales, local gossip, and news from distant lands in their heads, like walking libraries with really good public speaking skills. These storytellers didn't just recite stories, they performed them with voices, gestures, and audience participation that made modern theater look restrained. Popular stories included tales of heroic knights, tragic romances, and religious miracles, but the real entertainment came from local scandals and gossip about neighboring villages that was basically medieval reality television delivered orally. Children's entertainment involved games that would make modern parents nervous about liability issues. Popular activities included Hoodman Blind, which was essentially blindfolded tag, but with more running into things, and various ball games played with inflated pig bladders that smelled exactly as appetizing as they sound. Toy making was a cottage industry that produced entertainment from whatever materials were available locally. Popular toys included wooden hoops for rolling, carved animals that looked vaguely like the creatures they represented, and dolls made from rags and straw that had all the charm of handmade crafts and none of the safety testing. Adult entertainment in villages often centered around seasonal celebrations that combined religious observance with community bonding and competitive drinking. Harvest festivals, religious feast days, and winter solstice celebrations provided excuses for activities that would be considered public intoxication in modern terms. Dancing was enormously popular, but looked nothing like modern dancing, involving complex group formations that required everyone to know the steps or risk causing pile-ups that could injure multiple participants. These dances were basically medieval team sports disguised as entertainment, with winning determined by who could maintain formation longest without collapsing from exhaustion. Music making involved instruments that modern people would find charmingly primitive, including various drums, flutes made from animal bones, and stringed instruments that sounded like enthusiastic cats fighting. The quality of medieval music was highly dependent on the skill of local musicians, creating a lottery system where entertainment could range from transcendent to torturous. Drinking games were sophisticated entertainment that combined alcohol consumption with competitive elements that determined social status and bragging rights. Popular games included riddle contests, where losing meant drinking more, which created a feedback loop that made the riddles increasingly difficult as participants became increasingly intoxicated. Gambling was technically discouraged by church authorities, but remained popular entertainment that used dice made from animal bones, coins, and various improvised betting systems that involved livestock, tools, and personal possessions. Medieval gambling had higher stakes than modern casino games because losing could mean giving up essential survival equipment.
Wrestling matches provided entertainment that combined athletic competition with community bonding and the opportunity to settle personal disputes through socially acceptable violence. These matches followed informal rules that prioritized entertainment value over participant safety, creating spectacles that were part sport, part community theater. Craft competitions turned necessary work into entertainment by adding competitive elements to activities like spinning, weaving, and wood carving. These contests served dual purposes of improving community skills while providing social interaction that made tedious work more engaging. Seasonal sports adapted to available materials and weather conditions, including winter activities like ice sliding and snowball fights that provided exercise during months when outdoor work was impossible. Summer sports included various ball games and running competitions that used whatever open space was available. Community projects became social entertainment when groups worked together on tasks like barn raising, road maintenance, and village fortification improvements. These activities combined necessary work with social interaction, creating entertainment that was both productive and socially bonding. Food preparation could become entertainment during special occasions when communities gathered to process large amounts of food for preservation or celebration. Activities like communal bread baking, beer brewing, and meat preservation provided opportunities for social interaction while accomplishing necessary work. Religious observances provided regular entertainment through elaborate ceremonies, processions, and feast days that broke up the routine of daily work. These events combined spiritual significance with community celebration, creating entertainment that was both socially acceptable and personally meaningful. Market days transformed necessary commerce into social entertainment as people gathered to buy supplies, hear news, and interact with visitors from other communities. Markets provided variety and excitement that broke the routine of isolated village life. Evening activities centered around firelight gathering where families and neighbors shared stories, songs, and simple foods while extending social interaction into the dark hours when work was impossible. These gatherings provided warmth, entertainment, and community bonding that made long winter nights more bearable. The rhythm of medieval village entertainment followed seasonal and agricultural cycles, with more elaborate celebrations during harvest time and simpler activities during busy farming seasons. This created natural variety that prevented boredom while maintaining focus on survival necessities. And so, village life found entertainment in community activities that modern people might find quaint, which provided essential social bonding during harsh times. Castle entertainment operated on a completely different level than village activities, with resources and time that allowed for more elaborate pursuits that would impress modern entertainment executives. Noble boredom was addressed through activities that demonstrated wealth, power, and cultural sophistication, while providing social networking opportunities that could affect political alliances.
Feasting was the primary castle entertainment, involving elaborate meals that lasted for hours and included multiple courses, entertainment acts, and social rituals that reinforced hierarchy while providing gustatory pleasure. These feasts weren't just about food, they were theatrical productions that demonstrated wealth and organizational capability. Hunting was aristocratic entertainment that combined outdoor exercise with social bonding and practical food procurement. But the elaborate rituals surrounding hunting made it more ceremony than necessity. Medieval hunting involved complex rules, specialized equipment, and social protocols that turned animal tracking into sophisticated social drama. Hawking required even more specialized knowledge and equipment than hunting, involving trained birds of prey that represented significant financial investment and years of training. The relationship between falconer and bird created entertainment that combined animal training with outdoor sport and social prestige. Tournament competitions provided spectacular entertainment that combined military training with public spectacle and social advancement opportunities. These events required enormous resources and planning, but created entertainment that could last for days and attract participants from across Europe. Jousting was the premier tournament activity, involving elaborate ritual combat between mounted knights using specialized weapons and armor designed for sport rather than warfare. The pageantry surrounding jousting created entertainment that combined athletic competition with theatrical spectacle. Court musicians provided daily entertainment through performances that ranged from background music during meals to elaborate concerts that showcased artistic sophistication and cultural refinement. Noble courts competed to attract the most talented musicians, creating artistic patronage systems. Dancing in noble courts involved elaborate choreography that demonstrated social grace, physical coordination, and knowledge of complex cultural codes that separated aristocrats from commoners. Court dances were essentially social theater that reinforced class distinctions through artistic performance. Literary entertainment included poetry readings, storytelling, and the creation of illuminated manuscripts that combined artistic craftsmanship with cultural preservation. Noble courts served as centers for literary patronage that preserved and created cultural works. Gaming among nobles involved more sophisticated equipment and higher stakes than peasant gambling, including chess, backgammon, and various card games that provided mental stimulation while allowing for social interaction and competitive display of intelligence. Artistic patronage provided entertainment through commissioning works that demonstrated wealth while creating cultural legacy. Noble courts supported painters, sculptors, and craftsmen whose work provided both immediate enjoyment and long-term status symbols. Garden design became elaborate entertainment as nobles created complex outdoor spaces that provided beauty, recreation, and impressive settings for social activities. Medieval gardens were outdoor entertainment venues that combined horticultural skill with landscape architecture. Diplomatic entertainment involved hosting foreign dignitaries with elaborate ceremonies that demonstrated power while providing political networking opportunities. These events combined entertainment with statecraft, creating spectacles that served multiple purposes. Religious observances in noble courts involved elaborate ceremonies and artistic displays that demonstrated piety while providing spiritual entertainment. Castle chapels hosted musical performances and ritual observances that combined religious devotion with cultural sophistication. Seasonal celebrations in castles involved elaborate festivals that demonstrated wealth through extravagant displays of food, entertainment, and hospitality.
These celebrations served as political theater that reinforced social relationships while providing genuine entertainment. Educational entertainment included scholarly discussions, debates, and the study of classical texts that provided intellectual stimulation while demonstrating cultural sophistication. Noble courts often maintained libraries and scholars who provided educational entertainment. Courtly love traditions created elaborate social entertainment based on ritualized romantic pursuit that provided drama, poetry, and social intrigue without necessarily involving actual romantic relationships. These traditions created ongoing social theater that entertained entire courts. Military exercises provided entertainment that combined practical training with competitive display, including mock battles and siege simulations that demonstrated military readiness while providing spectacle for observers. Travel entertainment involved elaborate expeditions to other courts, pilgrimages, and diplomatic missions that provided variety and adventure while serving political purposes. Medieval travel was entertainment that combined tourism with statecraft. Craft patronage created entertainment through supporting specialized artisans who produced luxury goods that demonstrated wealth while providing aesthetic pleasure. Noble courts supported jewelers, armorers, and other craftsmen whose work provided entertainment through creation and ownership. Wine culture provided sophisticated entertainment through tastings, pairings, and the cultivation of vineyards that demonstrated refinement while providing gustatory pleasure. Medieval wine appreciation was entertainment that combined agriculture with cultural sophistication. The elaborate nature of noble entertainment created social pressure to constantly demonstrate wealth and sophistication, making leisure activities into competitive displays that could be as stressful as they were enjoyable. And so castle life addressed boredom through elaborate activities that combined entertainment with political necessity and social display. Monastic entertainment operated under completely different rules than secular activities, with pursuits that had to serve spiritual purposes while providing intellectual stimulation and community bonding within religious constraints. Monks addressed boredom through activities that elevated the soul, while occupying the mind during long hours of contemplative life. Manuscript illumination provided entertainment through artistic creation that served religious purposes, while allowing for creative expression and technical skill development. Monks spent hours creating intricate decorations that turned religious texts into artworks that provided aesthetic pleasure while serving spiritual functions. Music composition and performance was central to monastic entertainment, with communities developing sophisticated musical traditions that provided spiritual elevation while creating beautiful artistic works. Monastic chant and polyphony created entertainment that combined artistic achievement with religious devotion. Garden cultivation provided entertainment through creating beautiful and productive spaces that served practical purposes while offering aesthetic pleasure and physical activity.
Monastic gardens were entertainment venues that combined agriculture with contemplative beauty. Library maintenance created entertainment through organizing, copying, and preserving books that provided intellectual stimulation while serving educational purposes. Monastic libraries were entertainment centers that combined scholarship with cultural preservation. Theological debate provided intellectual entertainment through scholarly discussions that explored religious questions while exercising mental faculties. These debates created entertainment that combined learning with competitive intellectual display. Craft production allowed monks to create useful and beautiful objects that served community needs while providing creative outlet and skill development. Monastic crafts included everything from brewing to metalworking, creating entertainment through productive artistic activity. Teaching activities provided entertainment through sharing knowledge with novices and visitors, creating educational experiences that benefited others while providing intellectual stimulation for teachers. Monastic education was entertainment that served multiple community functions. Pilgrimage organization created entertainment through planning and hosting religious journeys that provided variety and social interaction while serving spiritual purposes. Monasteries served as entertainment centers for pilgrims seeking religious experience. Seasonal celebrations in monastic communities involved elaborate religious observances that provided community bonding while maintaining spiritual focus. These celebrations created entertainment that combined religious devotion with social interaction. Brewing activities provided entertainment through creating essential beverages that served community needs while involving complex technical processes. Monastic brewing was entertainment that combined chemistry with practical production. Medical practice offered entertainment through helping others while developing scientific knowledge and practical skills. Monastery infirmaries provided entertainment through healing work that served community needs. Astronomical observation provided entertainment through studying celestial movements that served calendar-making purposes while satisfying scientific curiosity. Monastic observatories were entertainment centers that combined science with practical applications. Chronicle writing created entertainment through recording contemporary events and preserving historical information while providing creative outlet for literary expression. Monastic chroniclers found entertainment in documenting their world for future generations. Contemplative practices provided entertainment through meditation and spiritual exercises that created inner peace while developing religious understanding. These practices were entertainment that focused on internal rather than external stimulation. Guest reception created entertainment through hosting visitors who brought news and variety from the outside world, while providing opportunities for hospitality and social interaction within religious frameworks. Scriptural study provided entertainment through deep analysis of religious texts that offered intellectual challenge while serving spiritual development. Biblical scholarship was entertainment that combined learning with devotion. Community administration offered entertainment through managing monastic affairs that required organizational skills while serving practical needs. Monastery management was entertainment that combined bureaucracy with service. The structured nature of monastic life created entertainment opportunities within religious constraints, demonstrating that spiritual communities could address boredom while maintaining devotional focus and community harmony. Seasonal entertainment adapted to weather conditions and agricultural cycles, creating year-round variety that addressed boredom while working within natural limitations that affected medieval life. Winter activities focused on indoor pursuits and special outdoor activities that took advantage of snow and ice conditions rarely available during other seasons. Ice activities included primitive skating on frozen ponds using animal bones attached to shoes, creating entertainment that combined physical activity with seasonal opportunity. Medieval ice skating was more survival skill than graceful recreation, but provided winter entertainment when other outdoor activities were impossible. Snow sports included snowball fights, snow sculpture creation, and various sliding activities that provided physical activity during months when farming and most outdoor work was impossible. These activities created community bonding opportunities while providing exercise and entertainment during harsh weather. Indoor winter crafts included activities like storytelling, music making, and handicraft production that could be accomplished by firelight and provided productive entertainment during long, dark evenings. Winter was prime time for activities that required patience and detailed work. Spring celebrations included elaborate festivals that marked the end of winter isolation and the beginning of agricultural activities. These celebrations provided community bonding after months of separation, while creating anticipation for the growing season. May Day festivities involved dancing, flower gathering, and various courtship rituals that provided social entertainment while celebrating seasonal renewal. These activities combined romantic opportunity with community celebration and agricultural symbolism. Summer entertainment took advantage of long daylight hours and warm weather for activities that were impossible during other seasons. Outdoor gatherings, extended work projects, and travel all became more feasible during summer months that provided maximum entertainment opportunities. Harvest celebrations marked the end of agricultural work with elaborate festivals that combined Thanksgiving for successful crops with community bonding before winter isolation. These celebrations were often the most elaborate entertainment of the medieval calendar. Religious calendar entertainment included numerous feast days and celebrations that provided regular breaks from routine work while offering spiritual significance and community bonding. The medieval calendar was structured around religious observances that created entertainment opportunities. Wedding celebrations provided major entertainment events that could last for days and involved entire communities in elaborate festivities. Medieval weddings were social entertainment that combined personal celebration with community bonding and often significant financial investment. Funeral observations provided somber entertainment
that brought communities together while honoring deceased members. These events created social bonding opportunities while serving important emotional and spiritual functions. Market fair entertainment combined commerce with celebration, creating events that provided variety, social interaction, and cultural exchange while serving economic functions. Fairs were major entertainment events that could attract visitors from great distances. Traveling entertainers provided variety and excitement when they visited communities, bringing news, stories, and performances from other regions. These visitors created entertainment events that broke routine and provided connection to the wider world. Miracle plays and religious dramas provided theatrical entertainment that combined spiritual education with dramatic performance. These productions created community entertainment while serving religious and educational purposes. Seasonal food preparation created community entertainment through group activities like brewing, baking, and food preservation that provided social interaction while accomplishing necessary work. These activities combined entertainment with practical survival needs. Weather-related entertainment adapted to specific conditions that created unusual opportunities for activities not normally possible. Storms, floods, and other weather events created entertainment opportunities while testing community resilience and cooperation. The cyclical nature of medieval entertainment created anticipation and variety that prevented boredom while maintaining connection to natural rhythms and community traditions that provided stability and continuity. Cultural exchange entertainment occurred when communities from different regions met through trade, pilgrimage, or political events, creating opportunities for learning new games, songs, stories, and customs. The integration of entertainment with necessary activities meant that medieval people found ways to make work enjoyable while creating social bonds that supported community survival and cultural continuity through shared experiences and collective memory. And so, medieval entertainment addressed boredom through creative adaptation to seasonal limitations, community cooperation, and the integration of pleasure with necessity in ways that created rich cultural traditions that sustained communities through challenging historical circumstances. As we settle into sleep thinking about medieval entertainment, there's something deeply satisfying about knowing that humans throughout history have found ways to create joy, community, and meaning even under difficult circumstances, using creativity and cooperation to transform survival into celebration. Tomorrow's modern entertainment options suddenly seem both overwhelming and somehow less meaningful than medieval activities that combined pleasure with purpose, creating entertainment that strengthened communities while providing individual satisfaction through shared experiences and collective achievement. And in the gentle darkness of our modern world, where entertainment is abundant but community connection is often lacking, sleep comes with appreciation for the medieval understanding that the best entertainment combines individual pleasure with collective benefit, creating joy that strengthens rather than isolates, and meaning that endures beyond momentary satisfaction. The gentle rhythm of medieval life, with its seasonal cycles and community-centered entertainment, offers a peaceful counterpoint to modern complexity, reminding us that happiness often comes not from sophisticated technology, but from simple pleasures shared with others in harmony with natural rhythms that connect us to something larger than individual concerns, creating lasting satisfaction that transcends time itself.
Welcome back to our quiet journey through medieval minds and medieval mysteries. Tonight, we are stepping into the most private realm of medieval life, the world of dreams and nightmares that haunted and guided people through their sleeping hours. From prophetic visions that changed kingdoms to terrifying nightmares that revealed hidden sins, this is the story of how medieval people understood the mysterious landscape of sleep as a direct communication channel with the divine, the demonic, and everything in between. We're about to spend the next 40 minutes discovering that medieval sleep was never just rest. It was a nightly journey into worlds both wonderful and terrifying. You are Brother Augustine, a dream interpreter and scholar at the monastery of Cluny, circa 1347 CE, tasked with maintaining the monastery's extensive records of dreams and their meanings, as reported by pilgrims, monks, and nobles who seek understanding of their nightly visions. Welcome to your scriptorium, where ancient texts on dream interpretation compete for space with fresh accounts of visions that may hold keys to earthly events or eternal salvation. The afternoon light filters through colored glass windows, casting jeweled patterns across parchment pages filled with carefully recorded dreams and their interpretations. The air carries the familiar scent of ink and old vellum, mixed with the distant aroma of incense from the chapel, creating an atmosphere where the boundary between waking study and sleeping vision seems particularly thin and permeable. The scale of medieval dream interpretation goes far beyond simple curiosity about sleep. These aren't just interesting nighttime experiences. Dreams are understood as direct communications from God, saints, angels, demons, or the souls of the dead, each carrying messages that could determine the fate of individuals, families, kingdoms, and even eternal souls. Every dream requires careful analysis, proper interpretation, and appropriate response to ensure that divine guidance is followed and demonic deception is avoided. But here's the thing that makes your work as a dream interpreter so complex. The same dream symbol can carry completely different meanings depending on who dreams it, when they dream it, and what's happening in their waking life. A dream of flying might represent spiritual elevation for a pious monk, demonic temptation for a worldly merchant, or impending death for someone whose soul is preparing to leave their body. Your morning routine begins with reviewing the night's collection of dream reports from monastery residents and visitors who have sought guidance for their nocturnal visions.
Each account requires careful consideration against the vast library of dream interpretation texts you've studied, from ancient authorities like Artemidorus to Christian interpreters like Macrobius, who developed systems for distinguishing divine dreams from mere physical disturbances. The classification system for dreams follows strict theological and philosophical categories. Somnium dreams carry symbolic meaning that requires interpretation through established systems. Visio dreams present clear literal messages that need no complex analysis. Oraculum dreams feature direct communication from divine or supernatural beings. Insomnium dreams result from physical or emotional disturbances and carry no prophetic meaning. Phantasma dreams occur during the boundary between sleep and waking and typically involve deception. This morning's first case involves a merchant's wife who dreamed of angels carrying golden scales while weighing her husband's commercial transactions. The dream imagery suggests divine attention to earthly business practices, but the interpretation depends on whether the scales balanced, what the angel's expressions revealed, and whether the dreamer heard any accompanying words that might clarify the celestial judgment being rendered on her husband's honesty. Your analysis draws on established correspondence between dream symbols and their meanings. Gold represents either divine favor or earthly corruption, depending on context. Angels indicate divine involvement, but their actions determine whether this involvement represents blessing or warning. Scales suggest judgment and the need for moral examination of the practices being weighed in the supernatural balance. The merchant's wife reports that in her dream the angels appeared pleased and the scales remained balanced, suggesting that her husband's business dealings meet divine standards of fairness and honesty. However, the timing, occurring just before a major business negotiation, indicates that continued ethical behavior is essential for maintaining divine approval and commercial success. Your interpretation advises the merchant to proceed with his planned business, but to maintain scrupulous honesty and fair dealing, as divine attention to his practices has been confirmed through his wife's prophetic dream. The couple should also increase their charitable giving as thanksgiving for divine favor and insurance against future spiritual complications in their commercial activities. The second case presents more disturbing imagery, requiring careful theological analysis. A young knight reports recurring nightmares of being pursued through dark forests by shadowy figures who speak in languages he doesn't understand, but somehow knows are making accusations about his conduct during recent military campaigns. Forest dreams typically represent spiritual confusion or moral uncertainty, while pursuit nightmares suggest either divine punishment approaching for unconfessed sins or demonic harassment designed to drive the dreamer toward despair and spiritual destruction. The language barrier in the dream indicates that the accusations concern matters the dreamer consciously recognizes but refuses to acknowledge directly. Your interpretation focuses on the knight's need for thorough confession and examination of his military conduct, particularly regarding treatment of civilians and prisoners during recent campaigns. The recurring nature of the nightmares suggests that unconfessed sins are preventing peaceful sleep and spiritual rest until proper penance and forgiveness are obtained through the sacrament of confession.
The knight's resistance to this interpretation, claiming his military conduct has been entirely appropriate, confirms your analysis that the dreams represent divine pressure to acknowledge and confess sins that pride prevents him from recognizing. You prescribe intensive spiritual examination, extended confession sessions with his chaplain, and charitable works to benefit war victims as remedies for the supernatural disturbance. Medieval nightmare interpretation requires understanding the complex theology of demonic influence during sleep, when the soul's normal defenses may be weakened by the body's rest. Demons can send false dreams designed to corrupt or mislead faithful Christians, but they cannot create dreams that lead toward genuine repentance and spiritual improvement. This theological principle helps distinguish between divine warnings and demonic deceptions. The third case involves a nun's recurring dream of climbing an enormous ladder that stretches from the monastery chapel to the heavens, where she encounters various saints and receives instruction about proper spiritual practices and future events affecting the religious community. The ladder symbolism clearly references Jacob's dream in Genesis, suggesting divine communication about spiritual elevation and angelic activity. Ladder dreams for religious individuals typically represent stages of spiritual development and the progressive purification required for closer union with God. The specific saints encountered and their teachings provide guidance for both personal spiritual growth and community religious practices that may need adjustment or renewed emphasis to maintain divine favor and protection. The nun reports receiving detailed instructions about changes needed in the community's prayer schedule, dietary practices, and charitable work, along with warnings about a coming period of testing that will require increased spiritual vigilance and mutual support among the religious sisters. Your interpretation treats this as authentic divine revelation, requiring implementation of the prescribed changes and preparation for the predicted challenges. However, you also counsel the nun to maintain humble obedience to her abbess and avoid prideful assumption that her dreams establish special spiritual authority over other community members who may not have received similar visions. Prophetic dreams about future events require particularly careful evaluation, because false prophecies can cause serious spiritual and social disruption. Authentic divine revelations typically include verification methods or signs that confirm their supernatural origin and distinguish them from mere wishful thinking or demonic deception designed to create confusion and false hopes. The fourth case presents the disturbing nightmares of a local lord's young son who dreams repeatedly of dead relatives emerging from their graves to deliver warnings about family curses, hidden treasures, and unfulfilled obligations to the church that must be satisfied to prevent supernatural vengeance on living family members. Dreams involving communication with the dead represent one of medieval Christianity's most theologically complex areas, since the fate of souls after death
affects their ability and motivation to contact living relatives through dreams. Saints and blessed souls may bring divine messages, while damned souls cannot communicate except through demonic intermediaries who use their appearance to deliver false or misleading information designed to harm the living. Your analysis requires determining whether the dream visitations represent authentic communication from souls in purgatory who need prayers and masses to their release, or demonic impersonation designed to manipulate the family into actions that serve evil purposes rather than genuine spiritual needs. The content of the dead relatives' messages demanding church donations and charitable works that would benefit the community suggests authentic supernatural communication rather than demonic deception, since demons typically encourage selfish or harmful actions that serve their purposes of spiritual corruption and social destruction. Your advice for the family is to fulfill the charitable obligations mentioned in the dreams, while also commissioning prayers and masses for the repose of their ancestors' souls. However, you caution against accepting any dream instructions that contradict established church teaching, or encourage actions that harm other people or compromise Christian morality. The pattern that emerges from medieval dream interpretation shows how sleep experiences were integrated into daily decision-making, spiritual guidance, and social relationships in ways that modern people might find difficult to understand or accept. Dreams weren't just interesting psychological experiences. They were practical communications from supernatural sources that demanded appropriate responses and lifestyle changes. Seasonal variations in dream patterns require attention from medieval interpreters because different times of year create different spiritual conditions that affect the types of dreams people experience and their likely meanings. Winter dreams often involve themes of spiritual testing and purification, while spring dreams typically focus on renewal, growth, and new spiritual opportunities. The agricultural calendar also influences dream symbolism, with harvest dreams representing spiritual fruit from previous good works, or warnings about coming judgment based on moral conduct throughout the growing season. Planting dreams suggest the need for spiritual preparation and good works that will produce future benefits for both earthly life and eternal salvation. Your afternoon work involves analyzing a particularly complex case involving a merchant who dreams of trading in the heavenly marketplace with saints and angels, exchanging earthly goods for spiritual treasures, while receiving detailed instructions about business practices that will ensure both commercial success and divine approval of his professional activities. Commercial dream symbolism requires careful interpretation because worldly business can represent either legitimate stewardship of God-given talents and resources or sinful attachment to material wealth that corrupts spiritual priorities. The dream's heavenly setting and saintly participants suggest divine approval of commerce conducted according to Christian ethical principles. The specific trading activities in the dream provide practical guidance for business decisions, pricing policies, treatment of employees and customers,
and charitable use of profits that will maintain divine blessing on commercial enterprises that serve community needs rather than mere personal enrichment. Your interpretation emphasizes the merchant's responsibility to conduct business as a form of Christian service that benefits others while providing honest profit sufficient for family needs and charitable obligations. The dream confirms that commercial success and spiritual salvation can be compatible when business practices follow divine ethical standards. Evening brings the day's most challenging case, a noble lady's terrifying nightmare of being pursued through her castle by demonic figures who transform familiar rooms into hellish landscapes while accusing her of unnamed sins that she claims not to remember or understand. Castle dreams typically represent the soul's condition, with different rooms symbolizing various aspects of spiritual life and moral behavior. Demonic invasion of domestic spaces suggests that sin has compromised the spiritual defenses that normally protect Christians from supernatural attack. The transformation of familiar environments into hellish landscapes indicates that unconfessed sins or unrecognized sins are corrupting the dreamer's spiritual condition in ways that make normal religious practices insufficient for maintaining divine protection. The accusations about forgotten sins suggest either repressed guilt or spiritual complacency that ignores ongoing moral failures. Your interpretation requires delicate handling because noble clients expect diplomatic treatment of suggestions about their moral condition, yet dream analysis demands honest assessment of spiritual problems indicated by nightmare imagery. You counsel thorough examination of conscience, extended confession, and increased spiritual disciplines to restore proper relationship with God. The lady's resistance to suggestions about unconfessed sins confirms the dream's message that pride and spiritual complacency are preventing the honest self-examination required for authentic repentance and forgiveness. You prescribe intensive spiritual direction with a qualified confessor who can help identify and address the hidden spiritual problems revealed through her nightmares. Medieval understanding of recurrent nightmares emphasized their function as divine mercy that provides repeated warnings about spiritual dangers before final judgment renders repentance impossible. Persistent bad dreams represent God's patient efforts to awaken sinners to their need for conversion before death or divine judgment eliminates opportunities for forgiveness. The theological principle underlying nightmare interpretation holds that God permits demonic harassment of souls who have distanced themselves from divine protection through sin, but always provides escape routes through repentance and return to proper spiritual practices that restore divine favor and peaceful sleep. Children's dreams require different interpretive approaches because young souls have less spiritual experience and fewer opportunities for serious sin, making their dreams more likely to represent simple spiritual instruction or warnings about future spiritual choices they will need to make.
Your interpretation focuses on encouraging the child's prayer life and moral education, while avoiding sophisticated theological concepts that would exceed his developmental capacity for spiritual understanding. Children's dreams typically emphasize simple virtues and basic religious practices, rather than the complex spiritual challenges facing adult dreamers. The monastery's dream records reveal seasonal patterns in the types of visions reported by different groups within medieval society. Clergy tend to receive dreams about liturgical practices and communities' spiritual needs, while merchants dream about ethical business conduct and charitable obligations. Nobles receive visions about governance responsibilities and the spiritual consequences of political decisions. These patterns suggest that divine communication through dreams addresses the specific spiritual challenges and moral responsibilities associated with different social roles and professional occupations in medieval society. God apparently tailors dream messages to the dreamer's particular circumstances and capacity for implementing the guidance provided through nocturnal visions. Your final case of the day involves a traveling pilgrim who reports a vision of St. James appearing with detailed directions for completing his pilgrimage journey, including specific shrines to visit, prayers to recite, and charitable acts to perform at various locations along the route to Santiago. Pilgrimage dreams carry special authority because they involve saints directly associated with the spiritual journey being undertaken. St. James's appearance to his pilgrims represents well-documented supernatural assistance that validates both the pilgrim's spiritual sincerity and the continued efficacy of traditional pilgrimage practices for obtaining divine favor and spiritual benefits.
Your interpretation treats this as authentic divine communication, requiring faithful implementation of the saint's instructions. You provide written documentation of the dream's contents for the pilgrim to carry as verification of his supernatural guidance when he encounters other religious authorities along his pilgrimage route who may question unusual spiritual experiences. The documentation process for authenticated divine dreams involves careful recording of specific details that can be verified against theological authorities and comparison with similar visions reported by other reliable dreamers. This systematic approach helps distinguish genuine supernatural communication from personal fantasies or demonic deceptions that might mislead faithful Christians. As evening approaches and your day's work in dream interpretation concludes, the pattern becomes clear that medieval sleep was never simply rest, but a nightly journey into spiritual realms where souls encountered divine guidance, supernatural warnings, and communication with inhabitants of heaven, purgatory, and hell, who had important messages for the living. The responsibility of dream interpretation carries enormous weight, because incorrect analysis could lead people to ignore divine warnings, follow demonic deceptions, or make spiritual decisions that affect their eternal salvation. Your work requires not just scholarly knowledge, but also spiritual discernment that can distinguish between authentic divine communication and mere human imagination. The monastery's extensive dream records preserve centuries of documented visions that provide guidance for interpreting new cases and verifying the consistency of divine communication across generations of Christian dreamers. These archives represent one of medieval Christianity's most valuable resources for understanding how God continues to guide and warn His people through sleep experiences. Modern readers might find medieval dream interpretation superstitious or naive, but the sophisticated theological and philosophical systems underlying this practice demonstrate serious intellectual engagement with questions about supernatural communication, divine providence, and the relationship between physical sleep and spiritual experience that remain relevant for understanding human consciousness and religious experience. As you prepare your final notes for the day's dream interpretation work, the scriptorium grows quiet in the medieval evening, filled with the satisfaction that comes from helping people understand the divine messages received through their sleep and providing guidance that could influence their spiritual development and eternal destiny. Tonight, as the monastery settles into compline prayers before sleep, you can rest knowing that your work helps bridge the gap between the mysterious world of dreams and the practical requirements of Christian living in a world where supernatural communication continues through nocturnal visions. The gentle evening bells call the community to final prayers before sleep, while your dream interpretation records preserve the ongoing dialogue between divine wisdom and human need that unfolds each night in the mysterious realm where consciousness meets eternity. And in the peaceful medieval night, where dreams carry messages from heaven and hell, we can rest knowing that sleep has always been more than physical rest. It's been humanity's nightly opportunity to receive guidance, warnings, and comfort from the supernatural sources that shape our deepest spiritual understanding. The eternal questions about divine communication and spiritual guidance continue to unfold in the quiet darkness where dreamers encounter the sacred mysteries that connect earthly sleep with heavenly wisdom, one carefully interpreted vision at a time. Tonight, as both medieval dreamers and modern readers settle into rest, the night holds the gentle promise that our sleeping hours remain opportunities for receiving the guidance, comfort, and spiritual insight that help us navigate the challenges of waking life with divine assistance and supernatural wisdom that transcends the limitations of human understanding. And in the sacred darkness that embraces both sleeping dreamers and waking interpreters, we find peace in knowing that the boundaries between earth and heaven become most permeable during the quiet hours when consciousness rests and souls become most receptive to the eternal truths that shape our spiritual journey through both sleeping and waking life. The medieval night holds its dreams gently, preserving the ancient wisdom that sleep is sacred time when ordinary rules of earthly existence yield to the extraordinary possibilities of divine communication and spiritual revelation that guide us through the eternal questions of human existence, one meaningful dream at a time. And as peaceful sleep comes to both the dreamers and those who interpret their visions, the quiet darkness promises that our rest will always be more than mere physical recovery.
it will remain our nightly invitation to participate in the ongoing conversation between human consciousness and divine mystery that makes every sleeping hour a potential encounter with the sacred wisdom that illuminates our earthly journey toward the eternal rest that awaits beyond all dreaming.